What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue and I hope you're all doing well today. With tons of changes to the profession system in Dragonflight, I wanted to see about doing some quick-ish tips and tricks style videos, and since I'm a stubborn dingus that refuses to give up engineering despite it being even more convoluted than ever, I felt it was appropriate to do an engineering video for this first episode. Today's trick is likely the fastest way that you can earn the safety component schematics. There are 3 recipes that are learned by using an engineering tinker and having it fail. But of course it's not that simple. You need to have 20 points invested in the Gears for Gear sub specialization on the function over form tree. On top of that, engineering tinkers have lengthy cooldowns that are usually about like 10 minutes. However, I've found a pretty nifty way to bypass the cooldowns of the tinkers so that you can use them multiple times a minute. That way you could just spam use your tinkers until they fail enough for you to learn the schematics. For this trick, I used a rank 1 plane displacer tinker module, which is the one that lets you go invisible for a little bit, and it's a tinker that you learn to craft at like level 25 Dragonflight engineering. You'll then need a pair of engineering goggles or bracers. I just made the low level goggles because the materials were really cheap, and that way anyone can replicate this trick since you only need like 15 skill to learn how to craft from a trainer. Once you have your goggles and plane displacer tinker module, you'll simply socket the module into the helmet just like you would a gem. So shift right click on the goggles and it'll bring up the socket interface and you can drop in the plane displacer. Now you're going to equip the goggles. You can also drag them onto an open action bar too on your UI since they're equipped and you can just hit that button to trigger the effect instead of opening up your character panel. However, we still need a way to reset the cooldown of this tinker module. For that, we'll be using an old game feature called the Proving Grounds. There are a number of ways to get to the Proving Grounds, but the easiest for most people will likely be to go to your class trainer in any major faction capital city like Orgrimmar or Stormwind. Just talk to a city guard and they can mark your class trainer on your map. I personally forgot about this until I was doing the footage for it already, so I flew out to Trial Master Rotun, who's located in the Temple of the White Tiger in Kunlight's Summit of Pandaria. You can also queue from your Warlords of Draenor garrison if you ever did any of that, but really the class trainer's likely the fastest and easiest NPC for you to find for this trick. From here, all we're going to do is use our engineering goggles to trigger the tinker effect, and once we do that, we'll talk to the NPC and ask to enter the Proving Grounds. This is an instanced form of content, so a queue notification is going to pop up and you'll accept that to be sent off. You'll then see Trial Master Rotun and he'll have a bunch of challenges you can attempt. Just really select anything that's available for a challenge, and your engineering tinker and all that stuff is going to automatically reset its cooldown. Now you can just right click on your character portrait and choose to leave the instance. You'll then be kicked out of the Proving Grounds, and you can use your engineering tinker yet again. Repeat this process as many times as needed until your engineering tinker starts to fail and you learn the 3 recipes. This can take a bit of time, even with the absurdly fast way of speedcasting your engineering tinker, and you don't get it every time a tinker fails. The first couple I got really quickly, like within a few minutes, but the third one took like 8 or 9 minutes of repeating this process over and over until I finally got it. That doesn't sound like a long time, but when you can do this 3 times a minute basically, you end up doing it quite a bit. Like all recipes in Dragonflight, anytime you make something for the first time, you get extra knowledge points and artisan's metal, so it's very handy to get as many recipes as you can for their first craft bonus. You can also craft these safety modules all the way up to 75 skill points in engineering before they stop giving skill points, and they're fairly cheap to make. So this is a pretty good way of grinding up your engineering skill if you're having a harder time filling out work orders or just are having a hard time making any of these more expensive items. Anyways, I hope this cheesy little trick helps you get a bit more progress in your engineering profession. I've personally been slogging through the last quarter of it, leveling, and thought that this trick might help other folks out. If it did, please consider leaving a like or a comment, as they're both very helpful and nice things to look forward to when I put up these videos. As always, my appreciation and gratitude to all of my viewers, subscribers, patrons over on Patreon, and Twitch subs. You folks all help make these Shiba Shenanigans possible. Thank you all so very much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.